Hello, everyone. Welcome to Hacking the Hustle. This is your host, Benjamin Sklar, and I am very excited to have Stewart Cahn on the podcast today. How are you doing, Stewart?
I'm quite well, and it's a rainy day here in New York, and the place to be is my office.
That's right.
I see my partner just walked in fact, but I head up Cahn Capital Corp, which is a what did we get? I guess this one's being recorded. Let's see. Now I got this thing off my screen. Good. We started Cahn Capital Corp 32 years ago, and we had our best year last year, and this year will even be better. My first career, when I got out of college, I went to Colgate and got my master's at MBA at Cornell, and then I went away for the service. When I came back, I had a job waiting for me at Chemical Bank, and I was with Chemical Bank for over 30 years. I developed an expertise in entertainment lending, and that led on to entertainment investment banking as I kept moving up in different directions from the bank itself to the investment bank. And when the day I became 50 and I had 30 years at the bank, I said, hey, there got to be something better than this, because as a banker, you got to keep the people above you happy. You got to keep the people who report to you happy, and you got to keep your clients happy. And you're splitting on all three directions. And since I started Cahn Capital, when you start your own business to leave a bank, there's a certain risk that you have. But the bank was very good to me, and they wouldn't do this today, but they paid me for an extra year and a half. And I was the first person in the investment bank to retire, and paid for my office, and directly they had space someplace for a year and a half. And that's how we got started. And they said, you can take any business you want. You know, starting a new company, I was no threat to Chemical Bank, and they wanted to be nice, and they were. We started out, we did an M&A deal and a couple other deals, and it was primarily in entertainment and communication. And from there, we owned radio stations, television stations, and we had various other things related to entertainment and communications where I had a strong background. However, that industry consolidated. And as you know, 4 or 5 radio groups encompass almost the whole country. There was no place for a boutique investment banking firm in the entertainment industry. And we evolved, and we now do a lot of work in medical. We do a lot of work in cyber and security. And we do some things eclectic. But I would say over 75%, 80% of our business is between US and Israel in medical and technology deals. And each deal is more interesting than the other. We only take exclusive engagements. In return, we invest in every one of the deals we do. And depending on what is needed, because a lot of these companies are fairly early stage, we sometimes use a convertible note with a cap, and have a 6% coupon, and have a date going out a couple of years until they have enough revenue and capacity to have a equity raise. And this has been quite profitable for the investors. And the first thing they said, Stu, what are you investing in the deal? And they follow me, and they follow my partner, who's a Stanford grad, who is bright as anybody can be. And his strengths are my weaknesses, and my strengths are his weaknesses. So I have the contacts. He really is quite brilliant. And we both work together in structuring the deals and placing the deals. Our clients love us. While we're only paid upon success of the raising of the capital, we basically advise the company sort of in perpetuity. We don't get paid for advising the company. We don't ask to get paid for advising the company, but they want us around and for future raises, as well as just the way we operate in a very, very honorable and ethical manner. That basically is the history of Cahn Capital up to today. Today, we have on our plate 3 medical deals. One is therapeutics, another is a unique cardio deal where it's going to change the total life of nature of pacemaking and will eliminate to a major degree strokes by being able to have an app which will tell you which plus a pacemaker plus either a watch or another instrument to give you information concerning hypertension and high blood pressure. So the app that they developed is if the blood pressure goes high, it will increase the heart rate, which will reduce the rate of the blood pressure. So we will eliminate strokes automatically 24/7. And it's a major, major breakthrough in technology. We went initially to the leading venture capital firms with cardiologists on their staff, and they didn't believe it. They said it's impossible. Medtronic had spent $1 billion trying to do this, and they failed. So when they called me, and they referred actually through a contact in Israel, even though they're California based, I was very much impressed. And we're early learners, or not early learners, but we make decisions fairly promptly. And I was impressed by what they were doing, certainly impressed by their credentials. And I asked them the question, what is it going to take to get this going? And they said, well, you know, since we're doing a lot of the technology and a lot of the trials and in our own labs, you know, $100,000 will do it. I said, well, give me a checking account and you'll have the money tomorrow. And from that, we raised $3.2 million in convertible notes. We're now going out to raise $20 million for them. The big boys know it's real. And there are 4 major pacemaker companies out there: Medtronic, Biotronics, Boston Scientific, and Abbott in their St. Jude division. And they'll be bidding for this company, seriously, within a year and a half. And I can't tell you what this company is going to go for, but our investors who are in this deal are enthusiastic about the company. They know that we did 2 rounds of the convertible notes, and they know that in one case, they're going to be up by at least 5 times the money, and that's within a year. In the other case will be at least 2 or 3 times their money in investment in the company. And you can imagine what what it will be as far as the success of that investment, based upon the fact that we think this company can go for $500 million within a year and a half from now.
Fascinating. A lot to unpack there, a lot of questions. I'm curious, I know you're very involved with various nonprofits and the Jewish community. How does your role as a philanthropist, as someone who gives back, play into your business career?
Well, you have friends who have the same values you have. And you know, based upon values, people have trust in people. And I think it's the fact that we have friends who we show with deals, and I'm flabbergasted at how much they invest. I don't know what anybody has in their pockets when you're dealing on an individual basis. When I'm dealing with venture capital, I know what they have in their pockets, and I know what their parameters are. But when you go on an early stage deal, which you can't go to a VC initially, or very difficult to go to a VC, it's based upon the deal itself, how we write up the deal, how we present the transaction, what we are doing about it. We introduce them to management. with Zoom, it's very easy to have a meeting with a group of people or with people after they invest. By the way, we have on at least twice a year and sometimes 3 times a year a meeting with existing venture investment bankers and investors, excuse me. And we try to stay in close to our clients. We try to stay in close with our investors. And of course, there's a cap of what anybody can invest. So, you always have to try to increase that list of investors, which is not easy because you only have a certain, number of friends in this world, even though it can be fairly vast. But people talk among people, and that list keeps growing.
What would you say is the more challenging part of the business? Bringing in new clients, new issuers, or growing your investor Rolodex?
I think growing the investor Rolodex because nobody does what we do. We'll do smaller deals. We invest in the deals up front. Nobody does that. Nobody does that. There's a risk involved in that, but the risks and the rewards certainly outvalue the risk. We have to advise, and we have to structure and try to generate a business for them, and create a sense of credibility for what they're doing. And really, the principles of the company is what really makes you decide of what you think of them, and how to proceed with them, and accept them as a client. You're assuming a risk yourself, not just the money you're investing in, but when you get an exclusive engagement from a company, you have responsibility because they're giving you 9 months to generate capital for the company. And that 9 months, you got to perform, certainly within, even before that. But that company is in your hands because they're hiring you to raise capital, and they're currently operating on a deficit basis, on a monthly basis. And the key is to get the job done, and we do get it done.
When you approach your investor Rolodex, how do you go out and recommend an investment?
One is that we're investing in it and how much we're investing in it. We don't have a fund. It comes out of my partner and my pocket. And I certainly have a bigger pocket than my partner has, who's a lot younger than I am, a lot smarter than I am. And they're impressed with the fact how we look at it, how we write it up. Our presentations, we're from the old school. Our presentations are very thorough. We don't go out until the book is absolutely correct in every detail. Projections are projections, of course, but the history of the people, and there's a risk summary which discusses the risk. Being a private deal, and we don't do public deals, being a private deal, we cannot just tell the risk, we can mitigate the risk and how management faces those risks and what they're going to do about it. So our book, we have projections that we work on in management. We have the assumptions to the projections. So there's a true and complete story. There's not a lot of gobbledygook that you have from attorneys when they do PPMs. PPMs we don't do because they're ridiculous. They have half the book that they prepare is just government regulations and and SEC regulations, and nobody wants to read it. Our books are readable, and people understand that, and they can see through it.
Right. I'm working on a PPM right now. So what advice would you have for a founder who's looking to raise money right now? What would you tell him or her before they began to think about approaching you?
As a founder, I really can't say, because each deal is unique in its own right. And while we do make decisions fairly promptly, we don't have a board of directors here. It's myself and my partner. We have a third partner in Singapore. And it's you know, we make decisions fairly fast. Sometimes you can have too much business in the house and you can look at it even if you wanted to, because we're not Goldman Sachs or Merrill Lynch. But Merrill Lynch and Goldman Sachs wouldn't touch the deals we do initially, you know, but because they have a minimum fee of, I think, $1 million in most cases of an investment banking deal. We don't have a minimum fee. It's really based upon success. Our upfront fees are very negligible. Our out-of-pocket expenses are negligible. So that it's just a completely different approach to, we understand that the problems that an early stage company has, we're there to try to, if we like the deal and accept the deal, we're there to mitigate those problems.
Right. What current trends do you see in the market right now with what's going on in the stock market and the world?
I do have a fairly significant portfolio of stocks, but I stopped buying stocks 4 years ago because I invest totally in our own deals. I can use that portfolio to borrow against, of course, to capitalize our own deals, but I can't really talk about. I look at my portfolio once a year at year end. I don't look at the stock values on a daily or weekly or monthly basis, because I'm not going to sell, because most of them have such large gains. I don't want to pay the capital gains tax, nor do I. And when I invested in stocks, I bought stocks I would want to own 40 years from the date I invested. I'm not a trader. I don't think there's benefits of a person who wants to see their portfolio grow by trading, because you're looking at it, micromanaging it. I can say that I have a group of 3 or 4 stocks which have concentrations, which have been very, very good to me. I have Apple at 74 cents. I have NVIDIA at 34 cents. We were doing a deal over 20 some years ago, 25 years ago in San Diego, which was a company which produced servers, high density servers. And they said that there's a new company called NVIDIA, and they have the best chips around. And I listened to that and I bought NVIDIA. Well, today it's very substantial, very, very substantial. So I'm not buying stocks anymore. I was up 38.1% last year in my portfolio, which is considerably greater than people who buy and sell, mainly because of NVIDIA, Pepsi, what others? The Macintosh is what? Apple, and the other one is Microsoft. Yeah, Microsoft. And,
Yeah, good stocks. If you could go back, Stewart, if you could go back and give advice to your 50-year-old self when you started your business, what would you say?
You're out of your mind, but do it.
And tell me, break that down.
I started the business when I was 50. You have to have confidence in yourself. And, you know, initially it's, there's a risk involved, and risk in a lot of things you do. But one thing is working for a company with thousands and thousands of employees, which I did for 30, 31 years. The other thing is starting a company. Somebody from Chemical Bank left the bank, was my initial partner. Now you're the best partner I've ever had for the last 12 years. You know, exceedingly bright and competent people. We've been a partner for 12 years. We've never had an argument, never had a dispute. And we don't make bad decisions.
That's incredible that you've never argued over 12 years. That's rare.
Never argued, never argued. But I can say the same thing with my wife. We have an argument once a year. Here in our office, we don't have an argument once a year.
Right. What
and we
would you
get
say?
down to business.
What's your vision for the future? Where do you see this world going?
Well, that's a political question. You want us to get involved in policy?
Please.
Okay, I think we have the worst president we've ever had in the country. This man has been very consistent in making the wrong decisions. From day one, when he eliminated the pipeline, now we're paying $90 a barrel for oil, which we can't transport because we don't have pipelines. You can look what he opened the border. That's nonsense. And 2 million people have crossed the border. They have to be checked out. We were building a wall that should have been completed. Everything that the former president did, which people admire a lot of things he did. Unfortunately, he changed it. And everything he's done has been a mistake. Under Trump, we had the Accords. They're called
Abraham Accords.
Abraham Accords, which was amazing in developing a relationship with Bahrain and with UAE, besides Egypt and Jordan, who previously had agreements, but with Morocco. I think the third one might have been Ethiopia, but I'm not certain. Sudan, it might have been. But today I'm reading that the ambassador to the Near East now will not go to Judea and Samaria, which is 750,000 Jews living there. He will not go there for what a crazy reason. On the other hand, Abbas and the Palestinian Authority pays $360 million a year to former terrorists and their families who have killed Jews in Israel. And it's just a different turn of events. That he won't visit towns which are Israeli towns, but he will go to non-Israeli towns in what's called the West Bank, but it's Area C, and Judea and Samaria, which have been thriving towns. And it's our closest friend. It's a democratic country. There's so much trade between Israel and the US. We see it in our own office. Our clients, our Israeli clients, develop technology which comes to the United States. They start in Israel, but eventually, very, very fast, they open offices here and create jobs in America. And I don't think too many Arab countries doing that, especially the Palestinian Authority is not doing that. But what can I say? These are mistakes.
What's your opinion of New York City and what's going on right now?
It's not just New York City, it's New York State, with this Andrew Stewarts, who's the head of the Assembly, and the person who's the head of the Senate, are the worst leadership in the state of, not just the state of New York, the worst leadership I've ever seen. And then you had Cuomo, who approved the no bail legislation, which had never been forward, and created a terrible, terrible effect upon New York City and the state. The hotel industry is destroyed in New York City. So many hotels are going bankrupt in New York City, not just because of the pandemic, but people are afraid to come to New York. My wife will not go on the subway because it's dangerous. Or there were so many incidents taking place, it's appeared to be dangerous. This is wrong. And this guy they have as the DA in New York City is just, no bail, whatever his name is. It can be a killer, and all of a sudden he's out on the street the next day on no bail, expecting him to come show up a month later for a trial. This is asinine. This is not pro New York State. This is not pro city. This is crazy, absolutely crazy. And our new mayor has has reinstituted the a special group of the police, which was successful, which were recognized for to take guns off the street and so forth. But they have to wear a uniform, maybe not the same police uniform, but have to wear a uniform so that you don't have the benefit of the fact that of the confidential, that the bad guys all of a sudden don't know who they are instead of being undercover.
Right. Stewart, you've had such a tremendous career and reputation in New York and the Jewish community. What do you want your legacy to be?
Well, legacy, I have no children. My wife and I have accumulated means, and it's all going to charities. So our legacy takes place after I'm gone, not during our own lifetime. And I prepared a will, which my partner is the executor of, and to give to certain charities that are designated in major pieces, to do what I couldn't do in my own lifetime.
How do you choose which charities to donate to?
Its impact upon me in my lifetime.
And which charities are those?
It includes UJA. I think ZOA is terrific. Stewart Cahn is unbelievable in defending the state of Israel and the Jewish people. I'm on the board of JCRC. My wife was a co-founder together with an Israeli of Limud FSU, which develops people from young people from the former Soviet Union or in the Soviet Union, in their roots, their Jewish roots. The Joint Distribution Committee, which has historically been one of the more outstanding organizations, and the synagogues. I'm a member of 4 synagogues. The West Hampton Synagogue, where they're building a building now, and we dedicated a room in that building. Building's called Jack's House, for a Holocaust survivor who passed away. And we dedicated the music room, and in honor of our cantor, Natal Hostek, and the maestro, the head of the choir, who's absolutely brilliant. It's a Chaimov, which you know both of them, and you've heard the choir, which is the best in the world, and you heard Natal Hostek, who is just one of the great cantors in the world. And, but this is just some of the areas that 3 of the 4 synagogues are getting grants. The 4th I just joined a month ago, when the rabbi, I was in the synagogue, and the rabbi handed me an envelope and said, "I want you to become a member." So I joined because I respect them. And, but the 3 that had been historically involved in fact, my wife and I are being honored by where I grew up in Beacon, New York, by the Beacon Hebrew Alliance. It's on their 100th anniversary, and we've endowed over $100,000, which will be presented to them on that day.
That's very, very generous of you. If someone wants to reach out to you, Stewart, maybe it's an investor who wants to get added to your Rolodex, or a founder of a company who's interested in raising money through you, how should they reach out?
Well, S. Cahn, C-A-H-N, at Cahn, C-A-H-N, capital, CAPITAL.com. And my phone number is 212-355-0296. That's at the office, where I don't get here early. but I don't leave. I'm here late. I usually leave by 10 at night unless my wife has dinner engagements or other things. But I get more work done at night than I do in the daytime.
Same. So Stewart, before I let you go, my signature question that I ask all my guests, if there was one thing you could do to improve this world, what would you do and why?
It's not a fair question. One person can't change the world. You can try in your own ways, but you can't change the world. But you have a better chance of changing the world in your own lifetime by supporting the things that you think are important. And be vocal, be very vocal. Don't be afraid to speak up or to write up. And if you think something is not right, and as an example, I sent a letter this week to David Weprin, who's in the assembly, and the second one went to people I knew, because concerning Albany and the legislations of no bail. It really disturbs me because it's destroying the state of New York. And I said it's their responsibility, no matter how they voted before. And obviously they were both Democrats. How they voted before, that you have to change their ways. And I think each person can have an effect by being vocal. That's not keeping it to themselves. And let the people know and call them out and give them advice. And hopefully they'll listen. We'll see. Who's the other person I heard? You don't know.
How do you recommend people overcome the self-doubt and the fear of other people's opinions and expressing?
Stick to your own guns. And if you feel strongly about it, speak up. I know my wife has friends and they're so left-wing that, she says no politics. My wife says no politics, but it always gets sometimes in politics. But somehow or other, there was, people, especially Jewish people, some of them are so left. It's absolutely crazy. I know we're both a member of the same shul in West Hampton, and there, I would say 80% of the people there are right wing, and if not right wing, it's more Republican. I know a large group of us went to the Republican Jewish Committee's annual meetings in Las Vegas, so we really don't have that type of problem in the summertime, where a lot of us are very pro. How will they word it? I guess that's where the Republican values.
Right. Stewart, it was an honor to have you on the show today. I really respect you and I really appreciate the time.
It's my honor to be with you also this morning, and I hope that my comments have some value.
They do. Thanks,
Perfect.
Stewart.